usually victorious.
Jackson's boyhood took a distinct turn when he befriended Joe Lightburn, who years later would become a distinguished general in the Union Army.
More than anyone else, Joe Lightburn influenced Tom Jackson to accept the gospel.
I think they were kindred spirits. Teenage boys together, out here in the frontier, living together.
It was a wonderful friendship for Jackson because it was the Lightburn family who introduced Jackson to the Bible. He had never seen the Bible, he wouldn't see it at Jackson's meal. So the Lightburns introduced him to the Bible. He attended Baptist church services with them, and his first love of religion, I think, came from them, and along with his friend Joe Lightburn.
I'm sure that as Thomas spent time in that home, a very close-knit family, a large family, they enjoyed one another's involvements like Christmases, like holidays.
Well, I think the friendship and the kinship of the two young boys, only being about 8 months apart in age, probably became more like a brotherly relationship.
The Lightburns had books, and that was wonderful, and Tom loved books. And so he would go to their home, and actually Mr. Lightburn spent a lot of time with Tom and with his own son Joe with the books.
They had an extensive library. They loaned Jackson books. I pictured Joe and Tom sitting out here on the mill dam reading books or discussing the books that both had read.
They loved the Revolutionary War soldier, the Swamp Fox, and they read all about him, and I can just imagine they're out there playing Revolutionary War soldiers as boys would do, and they went on long walks and fishing together, and I'm sure the conversation at the time was probably very spiritual. And he kind of found a spiritual soul in Joe Lightburn, and they stayed that way, right up until the end.
Lightburn challenged Jackson to Christian excellence in many areas of life. He once told Jackson that slaves ought to be taught to read so that they could read the Bible.
He became a very tender-hearted person. That side of him isn't shown in the battles and the tenacity he had, but the tender side to him, I think, came out of the fact that he was orphaned and the fact that he grew up with the support from the Lightburn family that he received. And of course, in that setting, you develop a desire to help others.
The West Fork River curled through the Jackson Mill estate, and Jackson went across that river and in a grove of birch trees built a little lean-to, which really became sort of his refuge from the world. And it was there that Jackson would go across the river and sit with his thoughts and his existence in this little lean-to. To grow up without a familial base, to be an orphan, without the love of a mother and father, had an intense reaction on him. His personality is affected by his childhood. He becomes withdrawn, shy, lonely, distrustful of strangers.
Jackson's childhood forged in him a rugged determination to improve his station in life. Separated from his parents, cared for and nurtured by the slaves at Jackson's Mill, and the Lightburn family having cast for him a vision of significance, Thomas set his sights on the world beyond Jackson's Mill.